Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this cold, I'm sure around the whole country, 20th day of January 2022. Going to get into my thoughts on the divisional weekend. I'm telling you guys, this is really exciting. A lot of big games on this particular weekend. Probably the best of all weekends. I know the championship weekends are usually good. A lot of times they're better than the actual Super Bowl. But this particular weekend, when you got particularly Sunday alone, if you really think about it, if you have uh, Mahomes versus Allen, part four over the last two seasons, and then you're having Rams and Bucks there, the quality of quarterback play, the coaching, just a high level of intensity there. A lot to look into. I've got my thoughts on all the divisional games. And I've got a few upsets that I'm going to predict. Remember, I was 5-1 last week. Also, Jim Harbaugh, and I guess that's where I'll start at. There was a report out of the Athletic that Harbaugh would be interested. Mentioned this the other day that he'd be interested in listening to NFL jobs and whatnot. Now it's come out specifically that he would listen and potentially take the Raiders job if we're offered. Now, there's two ways to look at this. I know it's Marcellus Wiley. He works with Fox Sports 1, former NFL player. He says, you know what? Jim Harbaugh wouldn't be a good hire. It would be a great hire. He mentioned the fact that it would pump a lot of energy into that team. Everybody, they would get more out of the players. And my comeback to that was, hey, this interim guy did get Bisaccia did get more energy out of the players. But I just don't understand why Mark Davis is interviewing coaches and general managers. So I think get your general manager first, let him hire the coach. But that's the Raiders. They've been a total tailspin, out of control, cart before the horse for the past 20 years. And they were trending upward with before the emails. They were doing well with John Gruden. As far as Jim Harbaugh is concerned, Harbaugh is about like Urban Meyer, except he has successful NFL experience as a head coach, but he burns hot. This is the longest he's been anywhere here at Michigan, 7 years. He's a 5 to 6 year, 4-year guy. He burns hot. The team will do well the first few years. Maybe get to a Super Bowl, AFC championship game type of level, and there will be a fallout between either him and Mark Davis, whoever the general manager. Remember, Mike Mayock was fired on Monday, I think, or over the weekend. So he'll probably have a run in. He had a run in with management. I want to say management and the ownership there with San Francisco, and of course, this past year, he was coming into this past season, he took a pay cut because the team was simply underachieving. And if I'm the athletic director, I'd have no issue with that because he didn't do well prior to last season. This past season, did not beat Michigan, did not beat. Well, he had some problems beating Michigan State too, but he did not beat Ohio State. Didn't quite to recruit the level. He just wasn't delivering. Now, last year, got a lot younger, particularly a defensive coordinator, much younger guy there, and they upped the offense. And now they've got a first-round pick, possibly the number one overall pick, and Aiden Hutchinson getting drafted. But they win the Big Ten. They get to the playoff after 7 years. They finally beat Ohio State, check. Win the Big Ten, check. Get to the playoff, check. The only other check would have been to win a national championship. He didn't do that, but he took them to places they haven't been in a very long time. And plus, like we talked about before, and I talked about particularly on my program, is that you got this NIL thing going on in college football. You've got the transfer portal. It's a lot of headache now. It's not the job it used to be 10, 12, 15 years ago, which was a way better job than an NFL job. People talk about sleeping in the office and all that, but at least you know you are going to get the highest quality players at the pro level, and it's pretty even playing field as far as that, rather than the college level. College is going to be crazy, wild, wild west. So my thing about Harbaugh, if you want a mediocre, a meteor type of success, lightning in the bottle, and you don't want anything real quick, maybe get some ticket sales up the next 4 or 5 years, build on what Gruden has built on and kind of run with that. Yes, I think it is. But if you want some stability from the next 8 to 10 years, a little bit longer, you might want to take your time, get the right general manager. Maybe Bisaccia is not the guy, the interim guy. I told you that it's not impossible that the interim coach has not been a total failure. It is most of the time, I would say. But we talked about the Bruce Arians was an interim guy for the Colts there because their head coach got cancer back in 2012, right? And he recovers from leukemia. Coach comes back. Can't remember that coach's name off the top of my head. He comes back, and Arians goes on and takes over for the Arizona Cardinals. They went to the NFC Championship game. Now, he's with the Bucs now, and obviously they've won a Super Bowl. Turns out to be a pretty good interim guy. So, big weekend, Pickles. Very excited. I just read that. Check this out. So, I'm going to talk about the divisional rounds in order of the games being played, and I'm going to save the best for last. That's Kansas City and Buffalo. But there was a story out that I want to say somebody put this out on Twitter. It was some company. I think it was like Fox or somebody, StubHub or somebody of that nature. But they said that the most expensive ticket for divisional weekend was Tennessee and Cincinnati, $256 average on the aftermarket. I'm out of Nashville area. We're not too far from Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's causing a big buzz up there. It's more than twice of everybody else. I want to say 145 for Tampa, but Kansas City, Buffalo is under that. Tennessee and Cincinnati is the highest ticket. Now, quite frankly, I would much rather see like maybe a Tampa and LA, but I wouldn't want to sit out there in the cold, even though it's going to be pretty good for Kansas City weather. Tampa or Buffalo and Kansas City would probably be the one I would like to watch most with those quarterback plays there. I just wouldn't want to sit in the stands, even at a 45-degree weather. I just don't like that. I mean, if I had box seats, yeah, sure. I used to do it all the time when I was 18, 19. That was no big deal. But now, no thank you. I'd rather just watch it at my house. So anyways, the first things first. And Tennessee, Cincinnati, Derrick Henry's been practicing. It looks like he's going to play. Some think that he might get 18, 22 carries. I don't know right off the bat whether he's 100% or not, or if he's up to game speed. Probably about that 4th or 5th carry. If he gets his typical Derrick Henry 15 to 18-yard run, then we'll know he's back. If not, Tennessee will put in Deontay Foreman. The average rush per attempt stayed the same, even without Derrick Henry, 4.3 yards a carry. Tennessee, very good rushing team there. Going against the team that's somewhat banged up. Let me look at this guy's name. Ajobadi. I cannot remember his name. Basically, one of their defensive tackles, I know for sure, will not play. Larry Ajonaba. Defensive tackle, he's going to be on the injury reserve. He's not going to play. Now, they're saying Trey Henderson is clear concussion protocol. Looks like he may play. Mike Daniels, their other defensive tackle, there's a chance he might not play. As far as Tennessee Titans, the Derrick Henry, Janoris Jenkins set out one day of practice. Today's Thursday. This game is Saturday. He's back. So Tennessee is the healthiest they've been all year. Okay, they're coming off of a bye week. They're at home. This is going to be a packed house here in Nashville. Going against the team, the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, Joe Burrow. That being said, also one of the more hotter teams in the league. They beat the Raiders. They beat Kansas City at home a few weeks ago. So they possibly may be missing 2 defensive tackles. Plus Tennessee, top 5 against the run, one of the better rushing attacks, one of the better front 4 defensively in football. Only way I see Tennessee losing this particular game, if, say, for instance, they get 2 4-man rush happy. They get off to a league early, and Jim Schwartz, who's assistant defensive coordinator here, talks the coordinator into continue to rush 4, and Joe Burrow starting to get in the rhythm as the game goes along with that 3 wide receivers that can beat anybody at any time. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and of course Tyler Boyd, and C.J. Uzomah is also a threat in this particular team. If Tennessee, again, going back to Houston, when they play Houston in Week 18, Tennessee gets a 21-0 lead at halftime. Team kind of got complacent and almost blew that lead. It was like 21-18, and then Ryan Tannehill had to put together a drive. Team goes back down, scores a touchdown, and pretty much ices this game, particularly, and they get the ball back and going to and just run out the clock. Something like that, a lot of fluke turnovers on special teams, something like that could trigger a Cincinnati upset, is what I'm saying. But the way I see this particular game playing out, from a team that's rested, healthiest they've been all season, they're at home, they have one of the best resumes against teams above 500. I want to say in the history of the league, 8 teams, 7 teams they beat that's in the playoffs. Remember, this team was in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. Derrick Henry with Ryan Tannehill, this offensive line, a lot of these defensive players, they know they've been there, done that. Last year, this team was in the playoffs. This is the second game and coming off a first playoff win since 1991 for Cincinnati. So Tennessee been there, done that, should be able to run roughshod on Cincinnati. I can see this game kind of playing off like a Cleveland and Cincinnati type of game, where Cleveland won 41-16, 137 yards for Nick Chubb there, and there was a pick 6. I want to say Denzel Ward took a 90-yard touchdown run. Something like that could possibly happen. My guess is this is probably a 28-23 Titans. I think the Titans get off to a good lead early, and then Cincinnati does come back, because I do think Joe Burrow's that hot right now, and reading that on Fox saying that these tickets are going for $256. That tells me there's going to be a lot of fans down here from Cincinnati that's going to be supporting this team. Again, weather's not going to be an issue anywhere. It's going to be very cold in Green Bay, but hey, it's January in Green Bay. But here in Nashville, about 39 degrees and sunny, very good football weather if you're a player. But I just see Tennessee playing really well. They could win in a blowout. I'm going to be conservative and say it's probably going to be 28-23 Titans, something in that nature. I can't see it going. I could see it going the other way, where if Tennessee gets complacent, again, a couple fluke turnovers, you're going against a guy like Joe Burrow. And I want to remind you guys, Tennessee lost to Cincinnati last year. Mike Vrabel, he brought that up, caught Tennessee in the middle of the season and lost that game 31-20. Now Tennessee doesn't have that they didn't have that lack thereof pass rush last year that they do this year. Guys like Deano Autry there, and of course Bud Dupree, Jeffrey Simmons is and Pickle says 31-24. Now that's probably, it's right there in that ballpark, Pickles. That's right. 31-24, 28-23 is right about there. I don't see Tennessee blowing them out. I really don't see an upset by Cincinnati, not unless Tennessee really just lays an egg. But again, Cincinnati beat Tennessee last year. We know how hot Joe Burrow is. So I don't see Tennessee coming here playing complacent football and laying the egg. I see them playing really well like they have all year, blowing these guys off the ball. Again, if Derrick Henry if he's really not 100%, Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard, they're averaging 4.3 yards a carry. Julio Jones, man, got his first touchdown as a Tennessee Titan against Houston a couple weeks ago in the last regular season game. Looks as healthy as he's been all year as well. So you got him and A.J. Brown together. Anthony Furcher looked to be possibly a good daily fantasy sleeper there too, Pickles, at tight end there. Could possibly get involved in the action. Offensive line in fully tacked. So I think they're going to play well. I think they're going to play really well and move right along, okay? But it could go the other way. Only way it goes the other way, if this team simply gets complacent on their pass rush and gets complacent with the football. I don't see it happening, but crazier things have happening. Maybe A.J. Brown get injured during the game. Something like that, fluke turnovers. Cincinnati can definitely, with the quarterback like Joe Burrow, who can thread the needle, kind of reminds me of, he's a combination of Montana and Dan Marino. I do think that's not saying too much. It's not being hyperbolic. You watch some of these anticipation throws this guy does. He's really an unbelievable player. But it looks like they're going to have two of their three defensive linemen back. But again, when you're playing a physical team like this, coming off a bye week, I don't think that means any never mind. I'm not really sure if that's going to make a big difference. But it would really be a huge, huge disappointment if Tennessee lost that game. And again, same thing for Green Bay, and that's a good transition. Okay, been reading the Green Bay injuries all week, particularly today, and now the San Francisco 49er reporter is saying that Nick Bosa, there's a good chance he plays. Remember, he had the concussion in the Dallas Cowboys games. Fred Warner, their linebacker, and he's a big part of what they do on defense. And he looks to be back. I'm trying to see. Warner's has a sprained right ankle's feeling better. Garoppolo will play through a sprained right shoulder and thumb. Okay, there's only so much you can ask for the 49ers. Okay. Shoulder, thumb. What does that sound like, guys? I mean, this is starting to get into Baker Mayfield shoulder issue territory. We saw what Baker Mayfield played like when he had this type of injury. It might not be exactly a sternum or whatever, but and the national media will say, well, The 49ers match up really well. They own the Green Bay Packers. They've won the last few times in the playoffs. And I want to remind people, first of all, the last time they played, Green Bay won with a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo, with a healthy Nick Bosa, with a healthy Fred Warner at San Francisco, 30-28. They went up there and won. And people said, well, did they have Jimmy Ward, their cornerback? Yeah, they did. And Devontae Adams had about 12 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown, and they beat them in San Francisco. So now you're telling this team, with what I just read you at injuries, I don't know how effective Fred Warner is going to be with the sprained ankle. Jimmy Garoppolo with a thumb and a shoulder injury. Okay. Not sure if Nick Bosa has to pass a series of tests. I've seen this before, by the way. The media will say he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Or the coaching staff will say he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Limited practice. Friday comes around. He didn't pass the concussion test. They wanted you to game plan for him, and Nick Bosa not even play. So, Green Bay would really have to screw this up to lose this game. Okay. 80 yards rushing last time for Aaron Jones. About 3 catches, and he got a touchdown. What do you think he's going to do when he's had a week off at home in Green Bay? The Green Bay defense could run roughshod. They could knock Jimmy Garoppolo out of this game. Who's their backup? Each backup that they put in, by the way, they played last year at San Francisco. Now, Garoppolo wasn't in that game, and Nick Bosa wasn't either. But Packers ran roughshod on them last year, 34-17. And, Rodgers had a field day. Devontae Adams had a field day. Yeah, you're looking at guys like A.J. Dillon. Pickle says get more touches too. And Dale Jr. says the Packers has the cold to their advantage, and that's big. Yeah, it's freezing up there. It's an icebox. Here's something else to think about. They've had 3 straight divisional games up there in the last 2 years at home, and they've not even been close. Whether it be to Seattle made it close for about a half. They pulled away. Last year, they ran out. The Rams were never even close in that game. They were never. It was like a 16-point game the whole time. Cam Akers made it a little bit interesting early, but they beat up on the Rams. Now I know that Aaron Donald got hurt, and he was sitting on the sidelines for a lot of that game. But if you look at guys like, oh, by the way, Randall Cobb would be back. Jar Alexander, their lead corner, is going to be back. Their left tackle's been back, and he had been out for a while, David Bakhtiari. So Bakhtiari is going to be back. Field position. By the way, they're the lowest penalized team in the league. I got to give McClure credit for that. They've been there twice. And by the way, San Francisco beat them pretty good about just 2 years ago in San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. Very embarrassing, humiliating game if you're a Packer fan. So I think that they're going to be on their A game, potentially could blow these guys out. If I'm the 49ers, I mean, it's a lot of Elijah Mitchell in the running game. They're still a little soft in the middle of that Green Bay Packer defense. Maybe use a lot of Elijah Mitchell. Maybe use some Deebo Samuel. Get something like that. Kicking game going to be the key. Yeah, Carlos says kicking game, something like that. Try not to overreact. If the Packers go back down and get a touchdown, the problem is this could be. I'm not saying this. This could be a Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots situation where they just go back down and score and score and score and score. Now, Valdez-Scantelin's not going to play. I don't think he's doubtful. So they're not quite got all their bullets in the chamber, but they have most in Green Bay's offensive attack. But I think Green Bay wins this game and they cover that 6 points. Whether it be 34-20, something like that, 27-17, late touchdown to make it look interesting by the 49ers. But if you get Garoppolo down early and he's got a shoulder and a thumb and all this stuff, some are saying that that's the reason why he threw that interception late that almost gave Dallas the comeback in that game, because he had a shoulder injury in that particular games. But these Niners defense is no joke, L. Jr. said, but that's cold. Yeah. Yeah, the Niners defense is good, but they're not 100%, and they're weak on that back corner, and nobody throws the ball better in the cold than the Packers do. I mean, other than maybe the Patriots back in the day with Tom Brady. And some would question whether those footballs were, heated up or deflated or whatever. But they were really good at that. And but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they could upset them. Special teams play, fluke turnovers, Aaron Rodgers get injury. Again, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. Anything can happen, you know? Hold on, guys. We're getting close to time to change over. And I think I'll do that because I got to get into this other game. All right. So, all right. Now, LA Rams are going to play at Tampa. Now, Tampa, at first, I was reading about the Tampa Bay injuries. And then I looked at, I'm trying to see if I got my notes here. Okay. Tampa Bay. At first, they said Ryan Jensen, the starting center for Tampa, practiced. And then a report says he did not practice. Thurston Wirfs hasn't practiced all week, was limping around, did play a little bit after the ankle injury in the Philadelphia game, okay? The problem is they're playing a red-hot defensive line for the LA Rams. Mind you, in week 3, the Rams beat them 34-20 in LA. Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions in that particular game. 4 touchdowns, 400 and something yards. You know, and I'm thinking with Thurston Wirfs possibly being out, Ron Jensen possibly being out, and the fact that, by the way, Sean McVay took this team down to Tampa on Monday Night Football last year and beat the Tampa Bay Bucks in Tampa with Jared Goff. Only way Tampa wins this game, I think he's going to play Pickles, JPP, Pierre Paul. But you know what? Whitworth's going to play. The whole receiving core, total mismatch there. Only way Tampa wins this game or keeps this really close is Todd Bowles is going to have to play flawless football as far as coaching is concerned on the defensive side. Can't get crazy with the blitzes. He's going to have to run stunts. And now, of course, Matt Stafford leads the NFL in interceptions. Don't get me wrong. He could screw it up and throw some picks to Tampa, and Brady is going to be able to utilize that. Now, Brady, he's a little short-handed right now. He's going to have to get guys like Tyler Johnson involved. Bashard Perriman. Perriman was hurt last week. I had him. He cost me a fantasy game. Mike Evans going against Jalen Ramsey. He had 100 yards last time. It wasn't that effective. Didn't really score. He's put a lot of faith in a 30-something-year-old Rob Gronkowski and guys like Stephen Miller and whatnot. Really inconsistent players. I just see that the Rams are going to be way too much for these guys. They're going to be able to beat them on the inside. Remember, Von Miller's on this team, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd. really big time pass rush here. This is a bad match for the Bucs. The Bucs would have to play flawless football, and they're going to have to get some turnovers to win this game to really even being close. If I'm realistically, for the Bucs to win this game, they'll probably have to keep Bradford and this Ram team under between 24 points and under. If it goes over that, I don't think with these weapons against that defense for the Rams, I don't think they're going to be able to score over 27 points. And I don't think Fournette has still not been activated, Pickles. Pickles says, is Fournette healthy? No. It's probably going to be Vaughn or the guy we saw catch all those touchdowns last week. I can't remember. I could see his name now. The other running back that they picked up that used to play with Cincinnati, I think he's going to probably be the starter. Caught about 9 balls, 54 yards, and a touchdown last time. Giovanni Bernard, will probably end up being the lead running back. I'm not sure about Leonard Fournette. You got 2 offensive linemen bound. Look what Tampa did to Kansas City. That will solve your problems. They're going to have to really out-scheme these guys. They're going to have to develop some type of running game. Other than that, the Rams are to be favored in this game. This game is played in Tampa. Matthew Stafford could turn the ball over. You still got Tom Brady. They still got a good front seven. You can't run on Tampa. My thing is, they'll probably spread them out, and Stafford's going to throw the ball the whole day. Fantasy alert. Odell Beckham could have a huge day. Cooper Kupp is going to get 8, 10, 12 catches in this game. And then you got Van Jefferson. Tyler Higbee's a good matchup. I mean, and then you got Cam Akers healthy again. And apparently that air quote toe injury is not a big deal. They played well against Arizona. It is a short week. That favors Tampa. This game will be played at 2 p.m. Central Time on they should have, and El Jr. says they have no problem passing all day. I think you're right. I think he'll probably throw for about 350 to 400 yards for Stafford. Only thing you can hope for if you're Tampa is he throws you a pick 6. He's had quite a few this year. He leads the league in interceptions, 17. I'm out of Nashville. I saw the passes that he did through right to Kevin Byard for a pick 6, and they never really recovered from that. That's really the only chance Tampa has in this game. If it's a clean game, I like Tampa. I don't know, maybe 34-24, something like that. Maybe even 37-24. So just giving you guys an honest assessment there. So recap, Tennessee to win, Green Bay to win. My upset, the Rams to beat Tampa at Tampa Bay. Okay, here's the main event. Here's the heavyweight championship of the world. What feels like it, man? Kansas City, Buffalo. You know, guys, Kansas City, Buffalo, 10, 15 years from now, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, they could make a 30 for 30 about this. I mean, seriously, especially if Allen goes on, either be this year, hopefully not this year, but if you're fans of the other teams, but could go on to win multiple Super Bowls. We've already got a Super Bowl out of Patrick Mahomes, but these two players here, this is going to be some of the best football you've seen. By the way, 34 degrees, no rain, no wind in Kansas City for Buffalo and Kansas City. Last year, I thought Kansas City was a better team, had everybody together, very sharp defense, offense, running game. Everything was sharp. We saw them over there 15-1, 14-2, something of that nature, the games that they played. Only lost one shootout to the Raiders in a realistic game. They beat Buffalo both times. They played in the playoffs and they played in the regular season. This year, kind of had a sense that Buffalo was better. Buffalo's technically the best team in football as far as statistics are concerned. If you look at offense and defense, they've been in top 5 in both categories week in and week out. Often they were number 1 team in both categories, defense and offense. They've had an injury there. Tre'Davious White, I thought that would really take a big toll on them. Hasn't really affected them that much. Their cornerback got lost on Thanksgiving night in the Saints game. And since they lost that game to the Patriots on Monday Night Football at home, they started forcing themselves to develop a running game with Devin Singletary in a short game. And you could see everything's blossoming now for Josh Allen. 4 incompletions last week. That was a historically good game right there. It's been overlooked, and people talk about Dallas and all their crap. Josh Allen was all-world football. That was Game 6 LeBron, 2012 against the Boston Celtics, a must-needed type of game. If you're comparing it to other sports, Jordan, Game 1 against the 92 Portland Trailblazers. This guy had 157 quarterback rating. Remember, they blew this team out at Kansas City this past week. Now, a lot of people are making a lot about Chris Jones not playing with Frank Clark. Their 2 best defenders with Tyron Smith. But Buffalo beat them, like I said, 37-20. So we'll see how that plays out. I did want to add the fact that their 2 best defenders did come back, Frank Clark and I'm talking about Kansas City now. Frank Clark and Chris Jones, they played in the Cincinnati game, and Cincinnati beat them 34-31. Tennessee beat them 27-3. So I don't really see – I see maybe this game being closer than the other game that was played. Maybe this one is 37-30, Buffalo. But I just see Buffalo being the better team winning this game. Yeah, so Josh Allen and this Buffalo offense on the greatest defensive mind of all time, a top 3 defense in every category. They scored on their first 7 drives last week. What makes you think they can't do this to Kansas City? They scored on their first 7 drives. Now, in Kansas City's defense, Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be back. Everything I'm reading, that's their leading running back there. I think that the fact that Tre'Davious White isn't playing in this game, you've got a guy like Tyreek Hill. Last year in the playoffs had 172 yards. You had 12, 13 catches out of Travis Kelce, 145 yards, 2-3 touchdowns out of Travis Kelce last year. You're going to get that kind of performance. This is going to be a over game if you're betting. If it's 51-54, it's probably what it is. I would take the over. If you look at the weather, you look at who's healthy, both offensive lines healthy, but I think Buffalo's just going to be too much for them. I think Buffalo's just going to go up there and beat them. And it could be 38-34 Buffalo, for that matter. Can Kansas City win? Yeah. Kansas City can win. Stay with your running game. This is what I'm telling Patrick Mahomes. This is my whole philosophy if I'm Kansas City. I'm going to say, I know, Patrick, you're former league MVP. You've won Super Bowl MVP. You got all the accolades. We know you're a superstar. We love you to death. But this guy's playing on he's playing on the planet you were on about 2 years ago. He's playing on another planet. We're going to have to put together a long drive. We're going to have to keep him, Josh Allen, on the sideline because nobody can stop him right now. They can't stop him. They can only hope to contain him. And if I'm Kansas City, I don't think that not just Mahomes, but Andy Reid's got the patience for this. I think if they would have ran the ball more, they would have had a chance. And they didn't really have a chance against Tampa in the Super Bowl because they got pass happy. But if they run the ball more in this game, keep Allen off the field. Use your other receivers. Use your drop back. Take advantage of the fact that Tre'Davious White is out. One of their lead corners been out since Thanksgiving. You have a chance to win this game. But if you get in a shooting slugfest, first time I think I've said this since this team has been put together, you will lose. This Buffalo team, Dawson Knox getting involved, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, your speedster on the outside, Devin Singletary getting involved these last 5 games. They're just unstoppable, Pickles. There's just not you want to keep him in the pocket, stuff like that. But, the guy is reading defenses better than he ever has before. People just seem to be a step ahead. The crazy throws that he's making. I see somebody like Dawson Knox having a good game here. They seem to have Suggs, Stephon Diggs, they seem to have a good lock on him, this Kansas City team, but they can't do anything with anybody else. So, again, 38-34, maybe 38-27 Bills. I like the Bills to get the upset there. I like the Rams to get the upset at Tampa. Green Bay can potentially cover that 6 points. But with the good running game, maybe the 49ers could win. I don't know. Elijah Mitchell, possibly. It's possible. I think Tennessee, I don't know if I would bet the points in Tennessee game. I just think Tennessee will win. Tennessee could win in a blowout. But I do think Tennessee is going to win this game. So I'm picking 2 underdogs. You guys didn't know that. Buffalo's the underdog. The Rams are underdogs. Picking 2 underdogs, and on Saturday, I'm picking the 2 favorites, and I cannot wait. This is going to be real exciting. People's been talking about it all week. And I do want to note about Kansas City, they do have Jerick McKinnon had a breakout game. Now, McKinnon, if you guys remember, I had him mixed up with somebody else that used to play for the Washington football team. This guy he's came over from, he played for the 49ers for a little while, got injured ACL, but before that, he was a really good player, McKinnon, Brian. With Minnesota, catch the ball out of the backfield, run between the tackles. He had a really good game. If Edwards-Helaire shoulder's still bothering him, which I don't think it will be, and you still got that toe injury out of Darrell Williams, apparently something's wrong with Derek Gore. I picked him last week. They didn't even use him. But Derek Gore been doing good. Maybe he's not picking up on the blitz. But this Jerick McKinnon guy, this could be something that could help Kansas City maintain drives to keep Josh Allen off the field. I don't think they got the patience for those long drives. I just don't think that Mahomes and Andy Reid have those kind of patience. Brian, I don't know if you popped on late. I think Buffalo upsets them. They're playing too good a football. I think the Rams, with the offensive line issues, with Bucks, with Tampa Bay, their the lack of receivers, their defensive backfield that's banged up. It would be a miracle. I mean, it would have to be an excellent coaching job by Todd Bowles in the defense for Tampa Bay to even have a chance in this game. So I like the Rams to get that upset. And, of course, Tennessee and Green Bay to win at home on Saturday. It's going to be some of the best football of the entire year, if you ask me. It's like Christmas, The opening day is Thanksgiving for me. Opening day, September, red zone, that's Thanksgiving. But these playoffs, they're like, a lot of times, guys, Brian, these are better than the Super Bowl. We talked about 49ers Cowboys. Brian, we talked about that a few weeks ago. 4 NFC championship games in a row. And I do a show with one of the guys that played, Jim Jeffcoat. You guys can see me on there. Northeast Streaming Sports, the The YouTube channel, Max Sports, M-A-C-S Sports on Facebook, Northeast Streaming Facebook page on live there, 7:30 Sunday a.m. Central Time. Jim Jeffcoat, former Dallas Cowboy, 92, 93, won 2 rings. Jimmy Johnson, Troy Aikman, that group of guys there. They asked my opinion on some things that Jim don't like, but I'm not going to back down and be intimidated just because he played in the NFL. But he's a good guy. They know, my opinions are different than theirs. If it was the same, it wouldn't be a good show, But those were 4 consecutive NFC Championship games. That's really hard. Dallas and San Francisco turned out to be a great one. I got a feeling that it's going to be like this with Buffalo and Kansas City for a while. There may be a 30 for 30 road about the Kansas City Buffalo because these 2 players are really young, really strong arms, good team around them, good coaches around them. For the most part, I wish Buffalo had a little bit better running game, but they have improved, especially over the last month with Devin Singletary there. So, guys, I'll be on Tuesday talking about the breakdowns of these games and let you know what happened, good or bad or indifferent. We'll see how it's going forward. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the games this weekend. I'll see you Tuesday around 9 p.m. Central Time, give or take a few minutes here on SportsSkope. Thank you, podcast.